Now that we've gone through some green landscapes, we're going to have a taste of Mongolian winter. So here I drew the horizon line and draw the outline of the mountain. We'll be painting the Darkhan Valley, so let's place some outline of dried trees here in the foreground. I tilt my sketchbook and moisten my paper. Next, let's start painting the warm light of the sunset with yellow ochre mixed with a bit of perylene violet. I paint with a very light stroke and blend in perylene violet on some parts of the sky. Notice how softly and quickly I move my brush. Also avoid too many strokes as I don't want my sky to look overdone. I make the upper part a bit darker by using a creamier mix of perylene violet and amethyst genuine. Using the same purple mix, I add a few thin strokes to make the sky more interesting. Next, let's paint the mountain. I mix indigo, Payne's gray, horizon blue, and a bit of amethyst genuine to have this rich, deep blue color. Remember to make the mix darker than the tone of the sky. I also painted the mountain while the sky is still moist, so I get this soft yet controlled edge. The right timing is very crucial so the mountain would not bleed uncontrollably to the sky. I darken some parts of the mountain to show its sides. I also darkened the foot of the mountain with few broken strokes. Next, I paint the foreground snowy valley with a color similar to the sky. My stroke is quick, that's why I create a dry stroke. Here I paint the steep side of the valley using a dark blue color, similar to the color I use with the mountains. I layer again some more dark strokes on the mountain since it is still moist. Now I change my brush to synthetic and make a thick blue mix to somehow show the horizon line. I also make some quick thin upward strokes to show some dried twigs on the snow. The fragment is partially dry, that's why you'd see some strokes with hard edges and some with blurry ones. Next, I will dry this layer completely with a heat gun to fasten the process, and I need the layer to be really dry before painting the trees. Still using my synthetic brush, I load my brush with a thick color mix and remove the excess water from my brush. I start with the trunk and try to blend the trunk on the ground with my finger. Next, I use a liner brush to paint the twigs. I start from the trunk going out and make the stroke smaller and finer as I reach the top. Now I flatten my round brush and get a dry paint to create some impressions of leaves. I simply dab my brush around the twigs. Just make sure your brush doesn't have much water in it to achieve this kind of effect. I make another tree beside it using the same steps. I try to wiggle my liner brush a bit as I paint the twigs. I also thicken the trunk and blend it on the ground by adding some strokes. So here's a simple way to paint a pink winter sunset. Don't forget that the color of the shadow of the snow reflects the color of the sky. See you on the next lesson for another winter trip.